Hello and welcome to the third tutorial where we'll start to talk about the many things that Illustrator can do with text. So the first port of call when thinking about text is the text tool, which is in the toolbar on the left hand side here. I think they call it the type tool. If we click on the type tool, actually there are different options for ways that we can incorporate type into a document, but we'll start with the straight type tool like this. You'll then get a cursor asking you to start typing, and you can simply click in the document and type. Now I'm borrowing Emma's title actually just for this first section, and Emma's drama is called The Man Who Owns Me. So if I type, once I've finished and I go back to my selection tool like that, you can see that this object is automatically selected. It's got a boundary box around it. If I wanted to change the size of it, I could hover in the corner, hold down Shift, very important that you hold down Shift, and I can extend it like that. I can move it into position if I want to. If I want to edit it, if I've decided that maybe I want The Man and Who Owns Me to be on different lines, I could double click here and press return like that. If I wanted to center the text, then I would just select the text, go up to paragraph and choose this option, Align Center. So now the text is centered. Move it into position. And then I have lots of control over the way that the words appear. So if I'm going to move this down a little bit so that we can see this panel. If I click on the character panel, I have options to make the different lines closer together with this one here, which is called leading. I can change the tracking so that the letters are more spaced out. So if I go up to something like 200, I can space the letters out like that. Maybe just space them out a little bit, or I can bring them closer together with a minus figure like that if I want to compact the lettering. I could, if I wanted to, change the text to capitals. I also have the option here to change the size of the font. I kind of manually resized it then, and it's ended up at 54.93 points. There are presets, so I can go to 72 points, and that would make it bigger. Of course, that means that the O, the capital O in this second line, is touching the top line, which I don't necessarily want, so I'd have to increase the leading so that the letters can be read like that. I could, if I wanted to, rotate the letters. I'm going to make that 0. So these are the kind of basic controls that we have over text. If I wanted to change the color, that's very simple. I can choose colors like this to alter the color. You could give the letters an outline if you wanted to, but I don't recommend that. I'm not a fan of outlined text. Yeah, not a fan. So we can take that off, make sure there's no outline. Having typed some text, you'll notice that when it's selected with the selection tool, it has a line underneath it. What that's telling us is that the text is editable, meaning that if I was to double click on it, I would be able to edit it just like a word processor. But what we can do in Illustrator when we're happy with the text is we can right click on it and then go to create outlines. And what that will do is convert the letters into vector objects. And if I show you what that looks like in the layers panel, it's created a group. And if I expand that group, we can see that each one of the letters is its own object. By default, it will group them together. But if I right click and ungroup, these are now completely free agents, and I can move each letter around into a new position. So we're kind of in the territory now of things that you couldn't do in PowerPoint or in Word. So each one of these letters is its own object. If I wanted to rotate a letter, I could click on it and do that if I wanted to. So we can start to be more creative with the placement of letters. We can obviously resize them if we wanted to. So we could create a quite sort of random looking ident like that, similar to the Arrested Development ident, where the letters are quite randomly placed. So I'm going to undo this with Control and Z, go back to the text being editable, like that. And we've got the underline, so it's an editable text. A really good idea when you are experimenting, which I'm hoping that you do. You will need to do some experimentation. When you've created a block of text, it's a good idea to copy and paste it, Control C, Control V. Like that. And then just have one editable version off somewhere and then experiment with a copy of it. That means that you can make lots of changes and you'll always have a backup available to you. It doesn't really matter in Illustrator where you put down objects. So you can even have objects that are off the artboard up at the top like that. You'll find, or I certainly find when I'm doing pieces of graphic design, that my artboard, the grey area around the artboard, ends up kind of full of stuff, sort of half ideas that I might just throw off to the side. So you can be quite flexible about the way that you work. Okay, so that is basic text, aligning, and the next thing that we're going to talk about is fonts, which of course is very important if we are designing an ident. I'll see you in the next video.